Why is it now that you realise that there's a risk that people coming in from other countries could bring it in?
And how has the science changed if they're following the science?
90% of the world's countries took precautions at airports, including lockdown, including quarantine, including testing. Guess who was in the 10%? The UK. And now Dominic Raab announces on behalf of the government there's a risk that people coming in from other countries could bring it in. What was our scientific expert advice for 3 months that led you to not do this before? Why have you allowed 18 million people, Dominic Raab and Boris Johnson and Matt Hancock, why have you allowed 18 million people, many from coronavirus-ravaged countries, to stream into our country for the last 3 months?
Without testing or quarantine.
Given that on January the 30th, the World Health Organization called this a global health emergency. Why? That's my question for you. No wonder you don't want to come on here, because that's the question that you can't answer, can you? None of you can answer it. We've been asking it and getting no answer for weeks. We first started asking ministers about this 5-6 weeks ago. Why are the airports not doing anything? Nothing. And now, when we have the second worst death toll in the world, by the government's own charts that they show us every day, we're number 2. So you can spin it any way you like. You can make yourself sound as successful as you want. It doesn't change the graph you show us every day. Second worst death toll in the world.
And what do you say to nurses getting on public transport, which is now packed, who have to go to hospitals and care for COVID patients? How do you reassure them that you are not going to see a spike in re-infection?
And how do you reassure people in care homes? So there's 11,000 care homes in this country with 400,000 elderly people, many of whom will be veterans of World War II that we celebrated and acknowledged on Friday with VE Day. And they're in care homes now, where you've allowed people, without checking if they're negative, to go back into care homes from hospitals with COVID-19 and infect and kill people. And now there's a second epidemic on the care homes because none of you took it seriously enough. None of you had the right equipment for care home workers. None of you had the right testing to test anybody there. So I know why you're not coming on this programme. It's called cowardice, because you don't want to face these questions. And it's a disgrace, as has been your failure to adequately protect our health and care workers, your failure to get testing in this country, to stop people dying, and your ongoing failure now, where you now suddenly decide that our airports should be shut. What a shambles. The most basic person in this country could have told you 3 months ago, you know what, be careful who you let in, we're an island. Other countries did it, New Zealand, Australia, other islands were very draconian about who came into their country on aeroplanes, but not us. We knew best. We were following the science. Our experts knew better than everybody else's. And what's the result? Second worst death toll in the world. That's the result. So, Mr. Raab, if you want to come on, we've still got an hour and 20 minutes if you want to come on and answer some supplementary questions to these interviews you've been giving, because I've got a few questions for you. Number one, why did nobody in the British government realise for 3 months?
With Piers Morgan and Susanna Reid.
Just watching Dominic Raab appearing on BBC Breakfast, talking complete and utter gibberish.
We're trying to get
He's
to the
laughing.
bottom.
He's laughing at this point.
We're trying to get to the bottom of whether
Now
we
he's
can
getting-
at a 2-metre distance in the park.
Breaks my heart not to be with her and have the family together.
One sec.
You know, that is one of the restrictions we've got currently.
Andrew Bridgen said a couple of minutes ago, well, of course, if you can go to the supermarket and stay 2 metres apart, of course you can then see friends and
You just told me I could go and see my 2 sons,
But
Andrew Bridgen.
Hang on. The advice updated on the 5th of this month. This is the government's advice. Am I allowed to leave my house?
Sons I haven't seen in 10 weeks, but can I or not?
Well, he also seems to imply that we've been able to do that all along.
Utterly ridiculous.
Despite the fact that
Let's
the
bring in
government says no.
2 people eminently more qualified to talk.
First Minister Nicola Sturgeon, she's waiting in the wings. We're going to get...
Well, the Prime Minister has faced a huge backlash over his announcement to ease lockdown restrictions and change the government's message to the public.
And one of those critics is regular conversations with the Prime Minister, particularly in advance of his message to the whole of the United Kingdom.
Well, I had
In Scotland, do you... Because we've been told that the average R rate, which is the transmission rate, is under 1 person, 0.5 to 0.9. But is it higher in Scotland, which is why you've stuck with the stay-at-home message? Scotland, you've got people doing something which you think could be deadly.